Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here today. I want to thank everyone again for joining in today. I know we're kind of living in odd times right now, and I appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about Knowify, and so I could teach you a little bit more about what Knowify can do for your business to help support you guys, especially in these odd times that we're living in. And today's webinar is going to be specifically covering the features in Knowify that can help you run a semi-remote contracting business. Obviously, contracting involves a lot of on-site work. It involves a lot of face-to-face interaction, but using Knowify and other tools can really help you reduce the amount of direct person-to-person interaction that's needed to actually get through all of your projects. And I just want to do a quick intro of myself and my associate Vin, who will be speaking with me here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Taryn Callion. I run our customer experience team and also work with our product experts here at Knowify. And Vin's on the line. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. My name is Vin. I'm a resident product expert here at Knowify today and look forward to showing you some more of our remote features.
And a little bit more about what we'll be covering. Vin's actually going to start by kicking us off and showing you a lot of tools on how to communicate with your client remotely. Because a lot of the business obviously involves, handshake agreements, going to the client site, doing measurements. And so reducing the amount of interaction there can be very useful. And I'll be showing more about how to communicate with your field staff, some vendors, and get a little bit more of the actual project management side being remote. And we'll also end with some Q&A. If you have questions during the webinar, feel free to just submit them in the text chat. And when we finish up the presentation, we'll actually go through all of the questions that you've submitted. But first, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Vin. If you want to share your screen, Vin, we can get started with your part of the presentation.
Sure. I should be able to see my screen here. I have a job up in Knowify. And first thing I want to cover is our ability to send out e-signatures for proposals and change orders. So this is a feature that many of you are probably already familiar with. Here we can create a new job and create a proposal by pricing out the project and providing as much relevant detail that we want to show to the customer. We can list multiple line items here and details for each, and include some more information such as our company's terms and conditions. And every job you create in Knowify, you'll have the ability to send out for digital approval. What this will do is Knowify will start comprising an email here where we can customize a message. We can preview what is being shown to the customer. And Knowify will automatically fill in a link here so that the customer gets the email. They can follow that link to view this digital e-sign page, and then they have the option to approve or reject it. At this point, I like to mention that we can also customize these documents so that you can confidently send out your proposal to the customers and control what gets shown here. We can update some of the formatting. You can also include attachments and set up the expiration date. So you're customizing this every step of the way. As soon as we wind up sending this out for digital e-signature, Knowify will help us track the progress here. We automatically switch the job to out for signature, and we can also keep track of when it was sent, when it expires, and also if the customer opens that link from their side. Knowify will take care of the status updates on this job. So once they go ahead and follow that e-signature link, Knowify will take it from there. Now the customer gets an email, and if they follow the link, it takes them to a page similar to this. This is our e-sign page where they can review that proposal that we just created here. And you'll see at the bottom, they have the option to accept and sign, request a revision, or to decline. Regardless of which option they choose here, Knowify will automatically update us. We'll switch the status of the job and send you a follow-up email notifying you of their choice. Once they come in and put in their signature and submit it here, Knowify will automatically register this and change the status of the job for us. They can also put in notes, and with the request revision, Knowify will switch the job back to bidding for us and send us an email update of what those notes were. If they reject the proposal, we'll have that on file as well, so we can keep track of what the original proposal was and make any changes to send out in the future. You'll see here that Knowify automatically changes the status of my job to active. And I also get a signed copy of the document that gets sent to my email and also stored within the document section of the job. So this way, this feature allows us to remotely connect with our customers, and I can keep track of my bid when it gets approved, the customer's information, all without leaving my house. The next feature I want to show you is our customer portal. I also want to note that from now until July 1st, Knowify is offering this feature free of charge. So if you want more information or want this enabled in your account, you can reach out to us at support@knowify.com. With this feature enabled, we'll have a customer portal button here against every job. So once I click this, I can choose exactly what information I want to share with my customer. And it's pretty straightforward. Basically, this is just a way for the customer to get a link where they can view progress on the job. And based on what we choose to display here, the customer will be able to see this remotely without having to contact us or view the job site. It's basically a way for them to also track their progress on the job right from their computer. And here's just a sample of what the customer will see on the customer portal side. We start off by showing a summary of the job, and then we'll show each of the sections that we have enabled. So you can choose which of these you want to display to them, whether it's all or just some of them. There's no wrong way to do this, and you'll be able to set this up differently for each job. The summary just gives us a high-level view here, so we can view the total contract. We can see what's been invoiced so far, and what against those invoices has been paid. So this will continually update progress as we get closer to completing the job. The contract is where we'll be able to see all of the line items, any change orders pending approval, and we can view progress based on what's been invoiced so far, what's remaining, and also a progress bar showing us that as well. Now the original line items are automatically going to show up as approved here. So we can continually come in and keep track of what's been billed so far, what still needs to be billed. The change orders, when they're pending approval, the customer can come in here and review them, see what's been pending. And they'll actually have the option of coming in and going to the e-sign page directly from their customer portal. So it's definitely a great feature for them as well. So instead of fumbling through their emails, they can come into one place and view everything as far as what's pending their approval and where exactly we stand on the job. Now, additionally, in this contract section, especially on jobs where you have a bunch of line items or change orders, you can also filter here. So it's easy for us to sort and search through all of our line items and change orders. The progress section will show a progress percentage based on work complete. So this adheres to the plan and track section of the job, and we'll be able to keep track of how close we are to completing the work that was initially estimated on these job phases. The invoices section is another popular one for the customer portal. We show, again, this high-level view of what's been paid against the job and invoiced. We'll also list specific invoices here as well. So at a glance, they can see the total invoice amount, what they've paid, what's remaining, and they can also view and download this invoice directly in one place. So this will store all invoices, and it will continually update based on when they make payments. The document section is similar to when you upload documents and pictures to your job, and you can choose to share them with mobile users. You have the same option here where you can toggle which documents and images you want to show with the customer. And they'll be able to come into this customer portal, into the document section, and view or download any of these associated documents. So you don't have to show every document uploaded to the job. You can keep them internal and choose what they're able to come in and view and download. Lastly, we have the log section of the job, and this is stored within every project that you create in Knowify. You'll be able to keep track of all actions taken on the job. It shows a little bit more detail on our side where we could see the user, but we can also choose to show this to the customer so they can see every step that's taken and also a time frame of when exactly it was done. We can go one step further and choose which of these actions we want to show to the customer so that they only see what's relevant to them. So that's our customer portal. The next feature I want to show is due with our integration with Square. You can actually send out invoices in Knowify for payment. And the way this will work is when you have an invoice that has an outstanding amount, you can hit the send via email button. So very similar to standard Knowify here, where you can customize an email message and include attachments. The difference is you'll be able to link your Square account so that you can check off this box to include a link to accept online payment. This way, everything stays the same as far as the workflow in Knowify, but the customer will get an email with a link that they can actually pay this invoice online. You can optionally add another link here as well to the customer portal. So remotely, the customer is able to log in, see their progress on the job, what's pending their approval, what they've paid so far, also link to pay invoices. This way we can communicate directly with the customer without having to contact or meet in person. This essentially allows us to both manage the job directly from our own locations. Now, once the customer clicks that link, we get to a page similar to this, where they'll get some information about the invoice here. They can also quickly view the invoice, and they can enter their payment information. Knowify will then process the payment through the Square integration, and will automatically show that payment back here and update the outstanding amount. And last feature I want to show you here is our integration with permits.com. You'll see that with this feature enabled, you can apply for a permit for any of your jobs. And based on the location, will automatically show the county and the number of the permit office. And this will help us remotely apply for permits on jobs without having to go to the office or essentially leave our computer. Once we click apply for permit, Knowify will just confirm the information that we're sharing. This is the information about the customer, the nature of the job, and the job address. Once we confirm this authorization, we'll be able to start the permit application. And this will take us directly to permits.com. So if you have an account with them, this should look familiar here so that you can apply for a permit. If you want any more information about this, you can always reach out to us. We can put you in touch with the rep. We also have more information about how the integration works. You'll see that with my account, it takes me in here where I can easily apply based on my location, and also gives me some more information about how this integration will work and what Permit Zone and Knowify is doing in this process. And that's the main features I wanted to show today. Taryn?
Excellent. Thanks, Vin. Fun fact, I actually just learned now that we have that link to sign a change order right in the customer portal. That's an incredible feature, and it always surprises me when there's still more for me to learn about Knowify day to day. So definitely thanks for presenting that.
Absolutely.
It's, in a lot of these features, it's really important in highlighting, like you said, you can get a lot done that involves multiple parties, whether it's your customer or the county permit office, without having to leave your home. So it really helps support all of the social distancing mandates where you're getting approval on things that usually require a written signature, or sending a member of your staff to the county office. This can all just be done remotely, and I think that's a huge benefit right now. And where I'm actually going to start us off, because I want to get a little less into the customer facing side and more into the project management. But I'm going to start with our purchase orders in Knowify. And I know that a lot of people actually are already using the purchasing side of our software, but I want to specifically cover the idea of sending out a purchase order. And the idea is that, you know, if you send someone to the store where they're going to be shopping around, it just involves more time, in a crowded place. I know Home Depots have been limiting how many people are allowed in the store at a time. It doesn't have to be Home Depot, it can really be any vendor. But this feature just gives you the ability to send out a request for materials before you actually get to the store. So that way, it's as simple as getting there, getting your materials, and going. I know a lot of people are promoting that type of working style right now, just to limit the amount of interaction. If all you have to do is drive up, sometimes they can even put the materials right in the car for you. It really can reduce the amount of one-on-one interaction that goes into this. And you can use the Knowify catalog to actually enter in items and have the pricing already in here for the sake of costing to jobs. For those of you who are very familiar with Knowify, you'll be familiar with these actions. But I just want to show a little bit more about how I could put in a list of anything from my catalog, plug in quantities, and we have pricing associated with this on the purchase order side. This is really temporary pricing up until the point that you log the bill, and the bill can be logged directly against the purchase order, so we know and remember all of the values. Um, again, this purchase order can be emailed directly to your vendor through Knowify. And it's the same idea of, it just reduces the interaction of having to go to the store, work with a person in the store. You can actually have them receive this without leaving your office. They can receive it without having to go elsewhere. And then they put your order together and set it up. So all you have to do is pull up to the store, they load up the car, and you get right to the job site. For what it's worth, you do have the ability to hide pricing on purchase orders with this checkbox. You just uncheck it, and now it's a list of materials, and you can worry more about the actual pricing when the bill comes in. And that's what we're going to be costing to the job. And for those of you who use QuickBooks, that's what we'll be logging in QuickBooks. So I just wanted to show a little bit more about how you can arrange your orders and the materials used on a job before you even have to interact with another person. But where I really want to focus here today is on our scheduling tools and how they'll work with the smartphone application. The idea is that we can use our corporate calendar to plan out when we're going to different jobs in our account. So let's say I had a job that started yesterday. I can either go through my list here, or if I know the number of the job, I could say 1708, and it'll filter out to that specific job. We should be working on this for 10 days. But more importantly, than setting the dates to the jobs themselves, I can assign different employees to these jobs. And that's what the job board and resource board are going to be for. I'm going to really focus on the job board, but I'll touch on the resource board briefly as well. The job board is going to use the dates from our corporate calendar to show me what jobs I have pending at this point in time. So then I can see who's available and then assign them to the projects. So if I take Paul and assign him to this 1708 job, it's going to automatically show up on his smartphone app. So he has the ability to see where he's going, the client's contact information, what type of work he's doing. And so it just helps us out a little bit. So he doesn't have to come into the office and see his schedule. He can actually just check his smartphone and it'll automatically let him know what he's supposed to be doing. This lets us get pretty custom with our scheduling. And just to give an example of that, I can actually choose a crew and I can choose custom time instead of full time, which basically means instead of me automatically scheduling them on every single day of the job, it gives me the option of saying, well, I actually want them there starting on the 9th, and I want them to be there from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. on these days. And if I hit this notify a scheduling change, it's actually going to send a push notification to their smartphone app, and it's going to send an email to the address associated with this account. So I just wanted to show a little bit more about how that part of this works as well. I can also use this to see who still needs something added to their schedule. based off of each day of the week. So you can see that on Wednesday, Paul is scheduled on this job, but the rest of the crew is not. So if I click on Wednesday, you'll see the colored dot next to each user's name go away. But then on Thursday, now I get to see what they're scheduled on. And if I have a lot of jobs in the schedule, I can actually click on that colored dot to filter out the job board to just one job at a time. It gives us just a little bit more control over what we're viewing to make it easier for us to schedule day to day. If you don't have the job board in your account, there's a good chance that you do have the resource board. And the resource board is a similar type of scheduling tool, but instead of having the dates of the job, it's more focused on who's doing what work. So I'm going to add something else to Paul's schedule. We'll go through our job list. I'm going to add him to framing on 1650. And I'm going to notify him of this scheduling change here and assign this to him on the project. And I'm going to actually now pull up this smartphone app. You'll see that on the app, I got a scheduling alert that showed me what I'm supposed to be working on based off of what was set up in that schedule in the resource board. And I can click here to see everything that I'm assigned to for the day. This will also give me a lot of other information, because what I've covered so far is the ability to send information to the field from the office without having to actually have a face-to-face interaction with these field workers. But what I can also do now is, as a field worker, communicate with the office. So it's now moving in the other direction. I can see a list of all notifications here. That's the one that was just sent when I scheduled Paul earlier. That's whose smartphone app I have here. As a foreman, Paul has the ability of seeing who's scheduled on the job here. That's the first view. So I can see Ringo's working on site prep, George is on framing, John is on drywall. And as they finish their work each day, I have the ability to change their own time. But if they're checking themselves in and out, as a foreman, I do know that each of these people has checked in and they are doing what they were told that day, regardless of whether or not I've actually seen them at the job site. This gives me information about their geolocation and everything like that. I can also see what I'm scheduled on. This is nice for each day, but I can also open this up and look into the future. So if I want to see tomorrow's jobs, Friday's jobs, I have this ability to see what I'm scheduled on each day of the week without having to go into the office or interact with the person who's scheduling. We don't need to look at a whiteboard. I just get to use my smartphone app to see what I'm supposed to be working on each day. And most people are pretty familiar with the ability to check in and check out with Knowify's smartphone app. But when you're checking out, you do always have the option to enter in a comment as well. This is what I did today, just so there's a little bit more communication with the people in the field and the office staff who is actually overseeing this project from their home office. I'll go ahead and submit this time entry, and this is how I can view my time card. I'm actually going to go back to the main screen to Knowify so you can see where that is. You can see that on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a variety of different things I can view. In this case, it's my time card. I can see how many hours were submitted today, how many I've submitted yesterday, how many I've totaled up so far in the week. And so that way we get a little bit more communication of, how much time each employee has spent on the job, what they were doing on the job. And I also can assign tasks to people that they can mark off on the smartphone. Excuse me. So when you use the task management feature in Knowify, this is what it looks like in the office, where I could say, do X, Y, and Z. I could say what job it's for. And I could assign it to multiple users or just one. And this just gives people a notification letting them know what they're supposed to be doing. And they can, from the field, mark off different items as they're marked as complete. Again, people will be notified as tasks they're associated with are completed. And so again, the idea is that, without actually interacting face-to-face, you can get a list of what needs to be done on jobs, what hasn't been done yet. And it's all just done, through the smartphone app, through the internet. This also involves purchases on jobs. So aside from time, which obviously is a big cost on projects, you can actually go to your purchases and enter in items that you've purchased, whether you bought it with company money as a reimbursement, if it was purchased on a vendor spending account. So let's say I did, in fact, go to Home Depot. I can actually just put in what items I've purchased. You can see that we have a database, so it has pricing already included as needed. And I have the ability to mark vendor will invoice, which basically means I'm going to receive a bill later on. Or I can mark things as paid with a company credit card, which basically just will sync up to your bank feed in QuickBooks as necessary. Or I could say that I paid with cash or my debit card, which is owned by the company. So basically, every method of purchasing materials can be logged on the smartphone app. They'll be able to reference your vendor database directly from the Knowify account. And of course, I can cost it to my jobs through the app as well. And then you have the ability to upload a receipt image. That way, you don't have to actually hand the receipt to whoever manages receipts in the office. An image of this will not only keep this on record in case you need to reference it later on, but you'll also have the cloud-based record of it. So if something happens to that actual piece of paper, that's fine because we actually have several images of it wherever we have access to the internet. You'll get a summary page, and I'll be able to submit this. And now this is costed to the job without me having to actually go into the office and tell them what I've purchased here today. Another thing I want to mention, and this is off of what Vin was mentioning earlier with our job logs, I actually have the option of clicking this button that says comments. So I can say, we got to the site, but couldn't work on the inside because everything was locked. So when I submit this comment inside the web application, whoever's in charge of the customer portal has the option of sharing that comment with the customer portal. So this is how we're getting communication seamlessly from the people in the field using their smartphone app to the office and eventually to the customer. So if the customer wants to know how come this work wasn't done yet today, they can actually see the comment that your field staff submitted saying, well, we actually wanted to work on this, but we were held up due to some of the doors being locked or due to something being in the way or there's inclement weather. All of that communication can be logged for the field staff, the office staff, and the customer, so everyone's in the know as fast as possible. That's the basics of what I like to cover as far as the smartphone application, goes. Again, the foreman features are very important here to be able to just get an overview as someone in the field on what jobs are still underway, and you actually have the ability to send push notifications from here as well. So I did show you how to send a push notification from our web application. But if you have someone in the field who maybe has their staff at several different job sites and you don't want to have to go to each individual employee and you need to communicate with them, you can actually pull up a list of all of the people who work with you and send them notifications. And again, this will send as a push notification, which is great because it shows up directly on their app, but also as an email. So if for whatever reason they've blocked push notifications on their phone or something along those lines, then they'll always receive an email letting them know what to do as well. A lot of this is kind of what we wanted to cover here today, just show you a little bit more about how you can get a lot done with people not having to break that 6 feet social distancing rule. And you can simultaneously be communicating with your customer, with your vendors, with your field staff, and everyone can be in the know as fast as possible. With that, I'd like to just kind of take a look at the questions that we've received so far. So not related to remote business, but someone asked if we support AIA G702 forms. We absolutely do. It is a standard feature in Knowify where you can create invoices and will automatically the system will automatically build the G702 and G703 form based off of the terms you put in. There's also a question about what if the pricing on bills doesn't match the exact pricing from your purchases. Um, that's actually a very good question. So I'll actually reference the purchase that I just entered, and I'll say create bill for PO. Now, keep in mind that when the customer saw the purchase order, there was no pricing on this. So all of this pricing is just for my reference. I said customer, I meant vendor. So all of this pricing is for my reference, so I can kind of have a temporary cost on the job. But when the pricing comes in, let's say the studs of lumber came out to be $5 a unit instead of $4, I can make that adjustment here, and that's what we're going to use for our job costing instead of the initial value that came in. So any of those adjustments can be made, and it'll still update your reporting, so everything's as accurate as it can be. Vin, here's a question for the customer portal. Is there a way to separate certain departments? Example, separate our oh, wait, no, this is not customer portal. They're asking about separating certain departments from seeing certain jobs. Do you want to get into permissioning a little bit and kind of how we manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our features that we offer to the enterprise accounts is advanced permissioning. And what this will do is let you set additional permissions beyond what you can for each individual user. So for example, whenever we set up a new user here, we can turn on what they are and are not able to see and control their approval amounts here, so that we're customizing access for everybody that logs into the system. We can go one step further with the advanced permissioning, and this will let us go a little bit further into hiding information from users that are not administrators or do not have the unlimited approval authority, so that this way we can go be more specific about letting users create jobs but not view financial information and not be able to see information on the dashboard that we want to keep internal amongst the administrators. One step further we can do is restrict access of jobs to just the product manager and sales lead. And what this will do is whenever you're creating a new project or editing a previously created project, you'll be able to assign a sales lead or a project manager. This is essentially the same screen that you see when you first start a job and when you edit it. And this will give you the choice between the users in your account. So this way it gives you an extra level of reporting on our advanced jobs report, which includes all information about jobs over a given time frame. We'll be able to show an extra column here of each individual user that was set as the sales lead and project manager. So it gives an extra level of reporting, and that advanced permissioning feature will restrict access so that this user is only able to see jobs that he's a sales lead or project manager on. So this way they can see certain jobs, only the ones that we give them access to, and choose their name from here.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're running a webinar specifically on advanced permissioning sometime next week or maybe the following. So if that's something that you guys are interested in learning more about, definitely register for our next webinar. That's going to very specifically cover, how to make sure that everyone who's logging in remotely is only seeing the information that you want them to see.
Yeah, exactly. I also just wanted to piggyback on the question from before. Like Taryn had showed us how you can update the amount from bill on the bill from the original PO. And then when you budget the cost of jobs, you can actually see this in a high level view here. So we can keep track every step of the way when you initially budget items to what items are added to the PO and then what get added to the bill. So this way we can see what we estimated, what we wound up placing on the purchase order, and what we were billed for to help us plan for future jobs.
Awesome. It seems like that's the last of the questions. Again, this whole session has been recorded, so if you ever want to refer back to it, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. I do appreciate everyone taking the time here today to learn a little bit more about Knowify. Anytime you have questions, feel free to reach out to us at support@knowify.com. It's a great time to learn more about how to use the software, especially if, maybe not as many contracts are coming in. You have some more time to kind of catch up on some of the office work that, has been, dodging you for the past couple of weeks. So, we do always offer free training and support for all of our users. So, if you're interested in sitting down with one of our product experts, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to work with you guys. I think that's all we have for today. Thanks again for attending, and everyone have a nice rest of your week. Take care.